record access music from like freaking.
Questions on page 180, problems you want to see work.
I'm being my That's easy.
Done?
That really ever.
16.
16, back to math. 16 says, Olive Baker, Spirit Club treasurer, deposits the club's receipts. She has 4 checks, $10 each. 4 checks for $10 each, 12 for $7.50. And cash consisting of 6 $20 bills, 5 $10 bills, and 18 $1 bills. They want you to find the total deposit. The total deposit. So it says she's got 4 checks. We were doing a deposit slip for this. It'd have to be one of those big long deposit slips. Notice the deposit slip that I gave you last time, that's like a personal deposit slip. If you had a business or something, you'd probably have something a little more substantial. It might be a whole page or something. On this one, 4 checks, $10 each. So what's 4 times 10 going to give us?
40.
So that's $40. We're going to total that up here in a minute. Then she's got 12 checks for $7.50. How much does that give us?
Try to do my head. That'd be too.
Should be able to.
90.
Too much brain power right now.
Then she's got cash. She's got 6 $20 bills. So how much is that?
120.
Then she's got 5 $10 bills. How much is that? Then she has 18 $1 bills. What are you going to do with all that to find her total deposit?
Add it all up. $300.
Everybody agree with that? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
No, 2. I'm going to tell you this. You write 140 in there when you're at your bank. Like Michael said, 140. You write 140 in there and make that little careless mistake.
They're gonna take that.
They're not going to think about you making mistakes. They're going to think that you're trying to rip them off, and they're probably not going to trust you very much from there on out. Right?
But if they make a mistake, it's all good.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But
They don't do nothing to try.
if you're making a mistake like that, they're thinking that you're probably trying to rip them off money.
Well, I'm gonna try to rip them off more than $20. I'm gonna try. That means one of us.
Other questions?
He's looking big.
32.
32 says, write in word form with cents expressed as a fraction of a dollar. This is what part of what we're going to do today. No excuses day. Every day, every time in this class, we have plenty of time for you to do your homework in here. So if you're sitting here today wasting this time, no more excuses. Should get something done while you're in here. We want to write that out in word form. We're going to write checks today.
For homework?
No, just, well, we're going to do it here in a minute, and some of the homework's the same kind of setup. How do we start writing this out as in words? put and 75 and 75.
And 86 cents.
That's all the cash, or I'm sorry, that's all the whole cash, right? The whole dollars.
I just put
And then we do this on the check. We write something like, we draw a line over. But how can you draw that line in there, even though we're not gonna do it here? On the check, how can you draw the line over? Sorta. When we get to the check, we'll explain that. Then they said they want this as a fraction over $1. So what are you gonna put? 86 over 100. So 475 and 86 over $100. Other questions? Take 2 of these and pass them on to the next person. When those get to the end, just lay them over there. I'm going to keep them. Might give Andrew a couple.
Yeah, I knew what to say when I was on 2 days ago. I wasn't expecting this one.
Where were you guys?
I saw one on the account.
Did you make that same chicken nugget?
I might have. If I would have known, I would have probably figured out what stuff is cool. I know. I was like, my grade, but I do sometimes when I act on these accounts, like, put extra nuggets in there.
Write this down, what we're going to talk about today. Writing checks. Writing checks. This will take all about 15 minutes, and you'll have the rest of the time to work on your stuff. So again, if you don't get it done,
That's on you.
that's on you. I'm starting this class. No more late work. Wasting too much time. Checking account. Checking account's a deposit account held at a bank that gives you convenient access to your money. So a checking account is something where you don't have to carry cash around. You can carry the checks around and pay with the check instead of paying with cash. A lot of things now you don't even have checks anymore. But some people still do. Sometimes I see people on like Judge Judy, and she says, well, show me a canceled check that you paid that. And the people say, I don't write checks, I just use my check card. Sometimes it's good to have a canceled check so that you can keep track of things that you do. A lot of times, a lot of businesses will still pay with a check. If you order stuff online, maybe if it's something real expensive, a lot of times they want a cashier's check. And what that is, you go to the bank and you have them make out a check so that a cashier's check has somebody's name on it, and only that person can cash that check. So that way, if you're mailing $15,000 to somebody, there's no way that somebody at the post office can see that it's a $15,000 check and take it and cash it. All right? So even though we have gotten away from checks quite a bit, it's still a good thing. And the reason that we've gotten away from it is because it used to be a big deal. People would write bad checks. You know,
It's no like third-party checks and stuff like that,
Right.
where you go to like multiple people and stuff.
and so stuff like that, people started taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
And so the banks trying to get away from that so that people cannot do that. Because if you have a third-party check, you know, that's where I give a check to somebody, then they give it to somebody else, and then that somebody else has an excuse Well, how was I supposed to know the check was bad? So and so, and then, you know, it's just a big, trying to get people, so people aren't getting in trouble for writing a bad check. I know when I was growing up, as long as somebody had stuff in their checkbook, had checks in their checkbook, they'd be writing checks. So there's many people who just write the checks for whatever, and then they give it to the store. And unlike it is now, they find out later on in the store and find out there wasn't no money in the account. Now the store runs it through a computer right away if you give a check, and the computer will tell them, hey, there is no money in this account, or hey, there's not enough money in this account, and it'll tell them right away. Back then it wasn't that way. A lot of times when I was growing up, you'd walk into a store, and on the front of the cash register, if this is your cash register, on the front of it, they would have checks hanging up here. And of course, on a check, you have to sign your name, and they would even write the person's name right out there next to it. And it'd be hanging right there, so that everybody walked into that store. If it was Dakota's check, then when you walked into the store, everybody's seen, hey, Dakota wrote a bad check. And so it's sort of like making you look bad. Now they do stuff like that because it hurts somebody's feelings.
Yeah, and you get a charge on you.
Now it's a charge, and it's
Good.
not.
Felony.
It's not a small charge either. If you write
Humiliation.
if you write a bad check now, your bank charges you like $50, and the store charges you an extra $50, and they just
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm not writing a check.
so it might you might have written a check for $15 to pay for something, and now all of a sudden you're paying $100 because you wrote a bad check.
They're trying to give them money, and you might have messed up.
Some places charge like $40 just to write the check.
Right. A lot of places now, instead of, if they don't have the machine, like Walmart, I know we wrote a check at Walmart the other night because we have a checking account. We just built a barn, and so we have a checking account that was the barn account. So anytime we buy something for the barn, we draw it out of that. So we wrote a check at Walmart the other night for stuff that we were buying for our barn, and my wife wrote a check out of it. Well, they run it right through the machine right then, and it tells if there's money in that account or not. So Walmart doesn't have to, worry about that, whereas other places may have to if they don't have that. If they don't have that machine, and you see like gas stations. I was at a gas station a few days ago, and somebody was writing a check, and it must have been a new person running the cash register. She was a younger girl, because the older woman was yelling at her for taking the check. And they had an envelope back behind the counter where it had check cashing cards. So people come in and you fill out a check cashing card that allows you to write a check at that certain place. And if you didn't have that check cashing card in the envelope, you couldn't write a check there. A lot of the old farmers and stuff around here, they still write checks because they want to keep track of that money if they're getting gas for their farm equipment or whatever. A check, paper document directing a bank to deduct money from your checking account to make a payment to the person named on the check. Now I passed out, you got those checks there. We're actually going to write a couple of them. I'm going to show you how to do them here real quick.